Now the youngest of the returning Red Sox players, an outstanding backup catcher of the 1960s and one of the most pleasant people to ever play here. Originally, he was the pride of Yazoo City, Mississippi, now a very successful Boston business executive, wearing number 10, Jerry Moses.
Jerry, you've been to these things before, and this one's a little bit different, and I think everybody seems to have more fun, more lies are told and everything else as the years go by, aren't they?
Well, you know, for me, there's going to be people here that I remember hearing an awful lot about when I was coming through the Red Sox chain as a kid. Some of the people I've never met before, and it's going to be real interesting because we'll have the chance to go back. But for me, guys like Raditz and Petrosella, Yaz, Lundberg, Mike Andrews, guys that I played ball with, the lies already started last night. They're continuing. Matter of fact, a couple of us stayed up all night to get prepared for this game because we used to play after staying up all night, so we did it again last night.
How about being on the same field with a guy like Joe DiMaggio? That's kind of a feeling, isn't it?
It's terrific. I've had the pleasure of working with Joe over the last 3 or 4 years with the company that I used to work for, and Joe represented the company on occasions. And I've probably been with him a dozen times, and he is just a classy gentleman. He has the mystique because he was truly one of the great players that ever played the game, and the fact that he was married to Marilyn Monroe gives him the mystique on both sides of it. He's a terrific gentleman. He's always fun to be around.
On the All-Star side, this young man was probably the greatest all-round athlete to grow up in Stamford, Connecticut. A first-round pick by the Dodgers in 1968. 1 year ago yesterday, he became the youngest manager in baseball right after his 35th birthday. The manager of the Texas Rangers, Bobby Valentine. Here's another great young pitcher whose brilliant career was shortened by shoulder problems. In 1973 and in 1974, he pitched no-hitters. In 1974, he won 22 games. Overall, he won 70, all for the Kansas City Royals, Steve Busby. For the Red Sox, this young man from 1970 through 1979 was the best number 2 catcher in the major leagues. He came through every time he was needed. He spent his entire 17-year professional baseball career in the Red Sox organization. Now an outstanding telecaster of Red Sox baseball, he also wears number 10, Bob Montgomery. Here's another great New England product with the All-Stars. The Washington Senators picked him number 1 out of Pittsfield, Massachusetts in 1966. After 9 years with the Senators, Rangers, Mets, and Cardinals, in September 1984, he became one of the youngest general managers in the game. Vice President and General Manager of the Texas Rangers, Tom Greaves. Here's another All-Star who gave us fits as a member of the Baltimore Orioles. A Vietnam combat veteran, he was Rookie of the Year in 1973. A solid .280 lifetime hitter. He holds Baltimore's stolen base records. Thank goodness he's on the Red Sox side now as a minor league instructor. Wearing his familiar number 1, Al Bunbury. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm very disappointed, I know you are too, I was supposed to introduce the boomer, George Scott. But George is unavoidably detained and is unable to be with us today. A hand for a guy who had a lot of taters in this ballpark and could really pick it, George Scott. Back with the All-Stars, this man was a reliable relief pitcher for 8 major league seasons, including 2 with the Red Sox. But he's probably best remembered for catching Henry Aaron's record-breaking 715th home run in the Atlanta bullpen in 1974. Now the pitching coach with the Texas Rangers, Tom House. The next All-Star played all over the infield in 10 Major League seasons with the Houston Astros, the Pirates, and the St. Louis Cardinals. Now in his second year as the hitting instructor and first base coach of the Rangers, Art Howe. For those of you with 1967 memories, here's one of the great rookie players of that team. He had 308 in the World Series and played 5 years, all told, for the Red Sox. Right now, he's the chairman of the Jimmy Fund in Boston, Mike Andrews. This catcher for today's All-Star team played in more than 1,000 games in 12 Major League seasons with the Dodgers, Cardinals, Astros, and Angels. Now a coach with the Texas Rangers, Joe Ferguson. Actually, the next All-Star pitcher could be on either side of the field today. In his 10-year Major League career, he included 5 years with the Red Sox, and he had 8 very important victories for the 1967 championship team. He's now the minor league pitching instructor for the Red Sox, the Stinger, Lee Stang. Here's one of Boston's favorites. He played 13 years for the Red Sox, was a valuable member of 2 championship teams, both in '67 and in 1975. His 40 home runs he hit in '69 set the American League record for shortstop. This year, he became a minor league instructor for the Chicago White Sox. Wearing number 6, Rico Petrocelli. From today's visitors' side, this first baseman was twice an MVP in the minor leagues before playing for the Texas Rangers in the mid-1970s. Later, he managed in the Ranger minor league system. Now he's a coach with the Rangers, Tom Robson. Next man is more familiar to you right now as the Red Sox third base coach. He was only 20 years old when he broke in as a catcher with the then Kansas City Athletics in 1965. Later, he managed Seattle and Milwaukee, Rene Lachemann. Now the only pitcher in Red Sox history to win the Cy Young Award. I saw many exciting games in my 25 years around this park, but none to top October 1, 1967, when this right-hander won his 22nd game of the year from the Minnesota Twins. He pitched a total of 14 Major League seasons. Now, a doctor of medicine dentistry in Scituate, Massachusetts, wearing number 16, Gentleman Jim Lonborg. Here's the walking man, an outstanding third baseman for Washington, Detroit, and California. 6 times he led the league in walks, but he also holds the American League record for 28 home runs as a leadoff hitter. Best known recently for his 8 years as the Red Sox third base coach, Eddie Yost. Back to the Red Sox side for another one of our all-time favorites. He was supposed to be all washed up when he came here in 1971. All he did was win 122 games with the Red Sox, 320 victory seasons, and I know you don't forget the 2 games he won in the 1975 World Series. He pitched 19 years in the majors, wearing number 23, El Tiante, Louis Tiant. The next 2 visiting All-Stars will forever be paired in memory. since an early October afternoon in 1951 in the Polo Grounds in New York. The first was a fine starting pitcher for the great Brooklyn Dodger teams of the late 1940s. He won 21 games in 1947, and he pitched in 2 World Series. Earlier, you met his son-in-law out here, Texas manager Bobby Valentine. Here from the Dodgers, Ralph Branca. As I mentioned, Ralph Branca did some great pitching for the Dodgers, but he threw one mistake to the next All-Star on that day in the Polo Grounds in October 1951. All told, this next man played 15 years in the majors. He had 264 home runs, but he's best remembered for his 9th inning 3-run shot down the line in the Polo Grounds. The shot heard round the world, won the 1951 pennant for the New York Giants 5-4, Bobby Thompson. Here's another member of the '67 Red Sox champions. He was a starter and a reliever. He won 5, saved 3 games that year. Later he pitched for Seattle, Minnesota, and Philadelphia. Now operates a pitching school in Hanover, Massachusetts, wearing number 27, Darrell Brandon. And another player who could be on either team today, in 1950, he was a runaway choice as Rookie of the Year for the Red Sox. He hit 34 home runs. He drove in 144 runs. Later with the Tigers, he tied a Major League record with 12 consecutive hits. He put the town of Moosup, Connecticut on the map. The Moose from Moosup, Walt Dropo. Here's the manager of today's All-Stars. He played in 10 Major League seasons with 6 different clubs, including the Red Sox. In 1965, he managed the Minnesota Twins to the American League pennant. For many years now, he has been a special scout and instructor for the Red Sox. Here's Sam Mealy. Next up for the Red Sox, a giant of a man who provided all kinds of thrills here from 1962 through 1965. He simply blew the opposition away with fastball after fastball. In that 4-year stretch, he had 49 wins and 100 saves. He was as good as any relief pitcher I ever saw. Here he is, the monster wearing number 17, Dick Raddatz. Another All-Star, another great Massachusetts player who not only got away from the Red Sox, but he also came back to haunt us. He won 21 games, each of 3 seasons for the Yankees, and 5 of 6 World Series games for the Bombers. Because he came from Springfield, Massachusetts, in New York, he was known as the Springfield Rifle, Vic Raschi. We're privileged today to have 4 Hall of Famers on hand. The first one is also the captain of today's All-Star team, and he'll be the starting pitcher. The winningest left-hander in Major League history with 363 victories in 21 years, 63 shutouts, always a Boston favorite, great booster of the Jimmy Fund. If you love the Boston Braves, you love this man, Warren Spahn. The trivia question goes, who's the only Red Sox player to pinch hit for both Ted Williams and Carl Yastrzemski? But I also remember that this former great Colorado football player was the man who went out to left field to replace Ted after number 9 had hit his final home run in 1960. Played 8 years in the majors with the Red Sox, Indians, Astros, and Twins. Wearing number 16, Carroll Hardy. Here's another hero from up the road on Commonwealth Avenue. In 1945, with the Braves, he only hit .352. He led the National League in hits, doubles, and home runs. A lifetime 300 hitter with the Braves and the Dodgers. Played in the 48 series with Boston, 52 series with Brooklyn. Legitimately, one of Boston's all-time baseball favorites, Tommy Holmes. Another and a special thrill today is to have all three members of baseball's greatest brother combination right here with us. First, the oldest of the trio. He broke in with the Boston Braves in 1937. All told, he had a 10-year Major League career, the Braves, Reds, Pirates, and Phillies. Please welcome Vince DiMaggio. Back on the Red Sox side, 9-time this man played on the American League All-Star team. In the late 1950s and early 60s, when you talked about third baseman, you were talking only about two players, Brooks Robinson and this stocky guy from the Bronx. He could hit, he could pick it at third. For many years now, he's been a special scout and instructor for the Red Sox, wearing number 11, Frank Malzone. What can I say about this final member of today's All-Stars? He'll serve as an honorary coach. Everything's been said and written thousands of times. Been on the Hall of Fame since 1955. His 56-game hitting streak of 1941 may never be broken. He did it all at the plate, in the field. He did it all against the Red Sox. The Yankee Clipper, Joltin' Joe DiMaggio. Now, it would take all afternoon to recount all the exploits which the next Red Sox star provided in 23 years here at Fenway and elsewhere. He was looking forward to playing today, but unfortunately he had an injury this week which will make it impossible. We have 4 official Hall of Famers here, but Cooperstown is ready and waiting. The door's open for 1989. All I have to say is number 8. Yes, Carl Yastrzemski.
Yeah, as you've been to these things before, but as a different kind of player, this has got to be something a little bit special with equitable, putting some money in for other ball players, and it seems like a thing that's going to grow.
Yes, it is. It's very important. A lot of players back don't have the pension that we have right now, and I thought at this last adjustment that they were going to go back and pick the older ball players up and increase their pension because they really need it. This is helping out, of course, but not as much as it should be, and I'm very happy to be a part of it.
And to be a part of same field as the DiMaggio brothers?
Well, to get back and see not alone the DiMaggios and the Ted Williamses again and so forth and that, but just to see former players that you play with, like Carroll Hardy. I haven't seen him in 25 years, and you can go right down the whole list and name different players. So it's a thrill being back for this day.
Well, this kind of afternoon gives more to the game of baseball than just a plain ordinary Red Sox old-timers game, because there's guys in the other dugout that are kind of fun. I mean, Lee Stang in a Twins uniform.
Yeah, after I worked with him in spring training, you know. He wanted to lay one right in today, and he said, I'll give you a little something on it, but I can't hit. I separated my shoulder about 2 weeks ago, and I was in good shape. I lost 25 pounds, and I was taking batting practice, so I'll have to wait till next year, maybe.
Along with the players, we'll be honoring 4 very valuable behind-the-scenes personnel today. 1946 was the 13th year of ownership by Tom Yorkie. Tom never forgot that first pennant-winning team, and neither has a very gallant lady who's sitting upstairs in the box seat, the president of the Red Sox, Mrs. Jean Yorkie. In 1946, the members of the championship team did not receive championship rings. To take care of that oversight, Mrs. Yorkie and the Red Sox today will be presenting championship rings to 19 players, the 4 former behind-the-scenes performers, and the 2 players who could not be with us today. They will receive championship rings. To present the rings, as each man is introduced, Mrs. Yorkie has asked one of Red Sox most loyal fans to represent her here on the field. This lady's father, John Dooley, was one of the founders of the Royal Rooters before World War I. It was very natural that his daughter became a lifetime fan. Please welcome Miss Elizabeth, much better known as Liz Dooley. Here we go. The first of those valuable behind-the-scenes performers. Actually, he's been on duty for all 3 championship teams, because he's been in the clubhouse ever since Mr. Yorkie took the club over in 1933. Here's Vince Orlando. In 1946, this next man was just as much of a celebrity as any of the players. The Red Sox bat boy, now from Norwood, Frank Kelly. And 2 men who assisted as bat boys and also in the clubhouse in 1946 are with us. One man came to the team in 1944. He's worked for the Red Sox ever since. From Brookline, Don Fitzpatrick. And the other former bat boy went on to a distinguished legal career in Boston, attorney John Donovan. Now the returning players, starting with the pitchers. Leading off, this right-hander was a key relief pitcher 40 years ago. In 1946, he was closing out a 10-year Major League career. All told, he has spent 38 years with the Red Sox as a player, coach, scout, and now as a special consultant. From his home in Greensboro, North Carolina, wearing number 25, Mace Brown. The next big right-hander spent 9 of his 14 Major League seasons with the Red Sox. He was the 4th starter in 1946, won 13 games. He also won Game 5 of the World Series with a 5-hitter against St. Louis. Not too many years ago, he was the general manager of the Winter Haven Red Sox. Here from his home in Coolidge, Arizona, wearing number 15, Joe Dobson. This left-handed reliever appeared in 20 games in 1946. He won 4, he lost 1. He pitched 4 years in the major leagues, 3 of them with the Red Sox. From his home in New Orleans, wearing number 23, Clem Dreiserword. When the Red Sox won so easily in 1946, there was talk of a Red Sox dynasty. And one of the big reasons was this right-hander from Mississippi. He had won 21 games in 1945. Then he became the big winner for the championship team with 25 victories, and later pitched a shutout over the Cardinals in the World Series. Arm troubles deprived him of a great career. In the late 1950s, he was the Red Sox pitching coach. Here, from Cleveland, Mississippi, where he's the baseball coach at Delta State University, wearing number 33, Dave Boo Ferris. Along with Dave, the Red Sox had another right-hander up from Texas who looked like he had a brilliant career ahead of him. He had won 22 games in 1942, 18 in 1944, returned from military service to win 20 in the championship season, including 6 shutouts. One of those shutouts clinched the pennant, a 1-0 win over Cleveland in League Park. Later, I'll tell you how that one run was scored. They tell me he could throw as hard as Feller, but arm problems cut his career short. Here from his ranch in San Marcos, Texas, wearing number 21, Cecil Tex Hewson.
What memories do you have? Well, of course, the 46 season, Texas, but what memory stands out in your mind as the particular game that you pitched or anything specific?
Well, I've been asked that question a lot of times. I think probably one of the biggest thrills I had was when we cinched the pennant in 1946. Ted Williams hit a home run inside the park with 2 out and nobody on in the first inning, and the ball game ended that way. We won the pennant. That cinched the pennant for us.
Was that the only time he went to the opposite field?
I believe it was. My memory was. This was in Old League Park in Cleveland, and it's 9 miles to left field, and they played him over, and he hit the ball down the left field line.
Have you had a good time so far?
Yes, sir. Enjoyed it very much.
This next left-hander started and relieved for the 46 champions. He won 5, he saved 3 in the regular season. He won Game 1 of the World Series. All told, he pitched 8 years in the major leagues, 7 with the Red Sox, and just retired last year after 33 years as a Red Sox scout in the Northwest. From his home in Seattle, Washington, wearing number 12, Earl Johnson. Here's a right-hander who had been a solid winner for the Red Sox in 41 and 42. Then he was off to military duty for 3 years. He returned to pitch 8 games in 1946. Since that time, however, he's been an invaluable member of the Red Sox organization as a scout, coach, and special instructor. From his home in Reading, Pennsylvania, wearing number 27, Broadway Charlie Wagner. Now for the 46 catching crew. Now, if you're only going to be in 2 major league seasons, it makes good sense to spend one of them with a championship team. That's what this Californian did. He was one of the backup catchers to Hal Wagner in 1946, appearing in 15 games. From his home in San Francisco, California, wearing number 38, Ed McGaw. And the other backup catcher in 1946, one of his 4 seasons with the Red Sox, he hit .315 in 40 games, and he started 2 games of the World Series. From his home in Trinidad, California, where he's a scouting supervisor for the New York Mets, wearing number 16, Roy Partee. Now we move to the 46 infielders. Here's the man who backed up heavy-hitting Rudy York on that championship team, played in 28 games. All told, he had 6 years in the American League, and later spent many years as the traveling secretary and special scout for the Cincinnati Reds. Wearing number 46, from his home in Tennessee, Paul Campbell. Now it's time for a special salute to the newest Red Sox member of the Hall of Fame. Spent 14 years in the Red Sox uniform as a player, and later 3 years as a valuable coach, including 67. In 1946, he had 18 homers, drove in 116 runs. He hit over 400 in the World Series. One of the great second basemen of all time and newly elected to the Hall of Fame. Let's have a special welcome for one of Boston's favorites from his home in Junction City, Oregon, wearing number 1, Bobby Doerr.
Bobby, certainly not your first visit to Fenway for a long time, because at one time, well, you were a batting coach with the Toronto, but what does this kind of thing mean to you? They're all kind of fun, aren't they? But this must be a special one.
Yeah, I think this one here is really special. The fact that a lot of these fellows haven't seen since in the 40s, you know, and gosh, that 46 team, that season, we were out in front by a pretty good margin and had a lot of fun that year, and of course, that good pitching helped a great deal. But this is really nice to see. There's quite a few of the fellows that are still around, and they still look pretty good.
You look pretty good, and congratulations on the Hall of Fame induction to be coming up this summer.
Well, thank you, Ned. That is really a thrill, and I'm real happy that I could enjoy it while I'm still alive.
Well, it's funny, talking to Ted down in Florida, he said he was on the commission now. He said everybody talked about Gordon or Dorr, Joe Gordon of the Yankees, and Ted said, look, I'd pick them both, but he said, my special guy is Bobby.
Yeah, well, I tell you, I'm flattered. I always kind of felt and hoped that I was as good as Joe Gordon. I always thought he was a heck of a ball player, and I just hope that he gets in there soon.
Here's another valuable reserve player for the 46 champions. He was nearing the end of a 12-year Major League career, filled in at second and third in 22 games, had 2 hits in Game 5 of the series. He had a long career in professional baseball as a coach and manager. Now scouts for the Los Angeles Dodgers from his home in Pittsburgh, Kansas, wearing number 10, Don Guttridge. Now the hometown boy who made good. As a rookie in 1946, his first year of 8 in the majors, he played in 22 games, hit a home run in his first at-bat in the majors, played all over the infield for the Red Sox, the Browns, Phillies, Reds, and Pirates, the pride of Dorchester and Roxbury Memorial High School, and the baseball coach of Boston College, number 39, Eddie Pellegrini. He can't wait. Here's today's manager of the Red Sox old-timers team, and certainly one of the most popular of all Red Sox through the years. He was one of the table setters in 46, led the league with 208 hits, batted .335, played 7 seasons for the Red Sox, and since the early 1960s, he served this club in every possible category. Minor league manager, major league manager, broadcaster, major league coach, now a special assistant to Lou Gorman, wearing number 16, number 6, the Needle, Johnny Pesky.
Right now, the pitching staff that's on this present-day ball club, I wish we could have had these guys in the 40s. We'd have won 3 or 4 more pennants. That's the thing that I regret. And, you know, when you're with good ball clubs, it's so much easier to play on good ball clubs than it is on bad ball clubs, because when you're with bad clubs, what I'm saying when I mean bad clubs, you don't just take them as individuals, but you just don't seem to play as well. But with good players, they kind of jack you up a little bit. I can remember DiMaggio, who never says 3 words a year, say, come on, get off your fanny, let's go. Shake you up a little bit. Things like that.
Finally, here are the outfielders from that championship team of 40 years ago. Although this player was an outfielder, he also filled in very capably at third base during his 5-year Red Sox career. In 1946, he hit .313 in 59 games. He homered in the World Series from his home in Rome, Georgia, wearing number 11, Leon Culberson. Another very capable reserve outfielder in 46. This man hit .301 in 61 games that year. Started 2 World Series games in right field. He spent over 4 of his 6 Major League seasons with the Red Sox. All the way from Wichita Falls, Texas, he wears number 18, Tom McBride. Next man played 10 years in the major leagues, both in the outfield and at first base. Spent 4 of those years here with the Red Sox. Hit .246 in 1946, 1 for 2 as a pinch hitter in the series. Here from his home in Fountain Valley, California, wearing number 2, George Catfish Metkovich. Now it's time to meet the youngest of baseball's most illustrious family. With Johnny Pesky, he was the other extremely valuable table setter and certainly one of the finest center fielders of all time. Played 11 years for the Red Sox with a .298 lifetime average. Hit .316 in 142 games in 46. After baseball, became a very successful businessman in this area. He's been away from Fenway for too long a time. There was a song in Boston in 1946 that was very true that year. And it went, "Who is better than his brother Joe?" Why, it's Dominic DiMaggio. Here from Cape Cod, wearing number 7, the little professor, Dom DiMaggio.
Dominic, these old-timers games, sometimes people call them a drag, and you haven't been back to Fenway Park for a long time, but this is something very special, isn't it?
Yes, it is, Ned. It's been about 7 years since I've been back to Fenway Park. Looks pretty nice out here. Good to be back.
And with your brothers.
Yes, it's been a long time since the 3 of us were together, especially in uniform. Many, many years. Goes back 35, maybe 40 years.
Well, it's nice to be also with members of the ball club that did so much after the war, before the war and after the war, and be with, there's a pretty good turnout from the 46 Club.
Yes, of course, this is our 40th anniversary, and just about everyone who is alive is here today, which is really something to see and talk to these fellows. They're recognizable, and it's really nice to see them after not having seen them for so many years.
Finally, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, here's the man. It was his inside the park home run which clinched that pennant in Cleveland in 1946. That was only one of the 38 he hit that year. He led the league in almost every other hit category. The last man to hit 400, Hall of Famer, simply the best hitter who ever lived, number 9, Ted Williams. As I mentioned earlier, 2 other members of the 46 team are unable to be with us today, but championship rings will be sent to pitcher Jim Bagby and outfielder Wally Moses. We have a very special presentation right now, and I'd like Vince DiMaggio, Joe DiMaggio, and Dom DiMaggio to come out here near the on-deck circle. Baseball is truly a family tradition. To emphasize that fact, on the occasion of this first game of the Equitable Old Timers Series, a special presentation will now be made to the city of Boston. Taking part, the 3 members of the famous baseball family, Dom, Joe, and Vince DiMaggio, will present, on behalf of the family of baseball, an ash tree symbolizing Major League Baseball family tree. The tree is being presented to the city of Boston. It'll be planted on the Commons with a plaque commemorating this day and paying homage to the family of baseball. Accepting for the city of Boston is Chet Oginski, the superintendent of Mark Maintenance. Thank you, Dom, Joe, and Vince. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please rise? And before the playing of our national anthem, may I ask for a moment of silent prayer for the memories of those members of the 46 Red Sox champions who have passed on. They are manager and Hall of Famer Joe Cronin, Tom Carey, Mickey Harris, Mike Higgins, Bob Klinger, Johnny Lazor, Frank Pitlack, Rip Russell, Mike Reba, Hal Wagner, Rudy York, Bill Zuber. Now, ladies and gentlemen, accompanied by John Kiley at the organ, to sing our national anthem today, and you're asked to join with him, is Terry Cashman, the balladeer of baseball, and we will honor America. Terry?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous night o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
We'll have play ball in a little while.
So they were the opening ceremonies and the introductions of all those players, some of them very, very famous, some not so famous, but all here really to welcome and remember the 1946 championship Red Sox team. Another team that went to another World Series and took another team from the Midwest to 7 games. And every time it has happened since that time, they've been great World Series. The Red Sox have not won one. They almost won in 1946. They came to 7 games in 1967, and again with the Cincinnati Reds in 1975. One of these years, they say in Boston. But it's nice to hark back and to remember all these people who played 40 years ago. Dick Raditz, who we will talk to before the regular game of the Texas Rangers this afternoon, says, I remember reading about these guys when I was a kid. He said it's amazing just to be here with the people like the Joe DiMaggios and the Dom DiMaggios and, of course, the Ted Williams of the world. Everybody has seen Ted Williams down in Winter Haven. But there's always a certain charm about Williams, and charisma, if you will, to use a trite expression. Anytime he makes an appearance, whether it's indoors or outdoors, whether it's at a Jimmy Fund dinner, whether it's at a luncheon, whether it's at an old-timers game, or whether it's the batting cage in Chain Lakes Park in Winter Haven, Florida, there's always a crowd around number 9. And he loves these things.
Cy and Tris, the Hall of Famers, Dominic, Parnell, and Jimmy Fox. The thumper just waiting in the box. I'm talking baseball, baseball and the Sox. There were triple crowns and MVPs. He hit the ball with grace and ease. Teddy was as splendid as they come. Then Yastrzemski got the call. In '67 he did it all, and the pennant was flying high before his work was done. I'm talking baseball, Jackie Jensen, Reggie Pearsall, Boston baseball, Reynolds, Rico, Don Schwall, Tony C, the monster, Ike the Lock, Lon Borg and the strange glove of the doc. Talking baseball, baseball and the Sox. Talking baseball in New England, Aganis and Smokey Joe. Stevens 3 hits in 1 inning, Carlton Fisk and Freddie Lynn. Please come to Boston in the spring, it's a beautiful thing. Boston has tradition, and with the proper ammunition, the Sox will fight from April till the fall. New names join the old, another team unfolds. There's Clemens and Nipper and Buckner's a ripper, so let's play ball. I'm talking baseball, Armis, Boyd and Dwight, Boston baseball, Boggs and Jimmy Rice, Rich Gedman and Barrett hit the rock. From Framingham down to the Boston docks, they're talking baseball, baseball and the Sox. Boston baseball, baseball and the Sox. Fenway, Fenway, Fenway. Boston baseball, baseball and the Sox. Fenway, Fenway, Fenway. In '75, hardly a man is alive who doesn't waving baseball over the wall. Fenway, Fenway, Fenway.
All right, that was Terry Cashman. You probably have heard the records. He makes a record for every baseball team and has words for the players that have played throughout the years for the teams. Right now, we still have things going on down there as Bill Crowley takes over again.
We've got 3 outstanding operatives on hand. First, we never got to see this man very often at Fenway Park. He's one of the most colorful men in blue in the National League. He had been a player himself before umpiring, but it was his ability as an umpire which had him work in 6 World Series. Elected to the Hall of Fame in 1974. Here from his home in Phoenix, Arizona, he's 86 years young, Jocko Conlon. Jocko will be working at first base. He doesn't want to walk all the way across to third. Working at first base, a cup will the guy that's well known around here, the football pride of Providence College and the New York Football Giants, Hank Soar. And working home plate, up here from Florida, many years, a great American League umpire, Jerry Newdecker. Okay, it's time to play ball. Red Sox take the field.
All right, the introduction of the umpires, Jerry Newdecker, who's the youngest one and the last one to use that outside protector outside the uniform. Once he left and retired, all of the protectors are inside the shirt. So we're going to have the old-timers game, which will last 3 innings, and you'll see all the people who have been introduced. There is no need for warm-ups. There's a familiar number going out to left field. A couple of years ago, when they had the first old-timers games here, Ted Williams made the fielding play of the day, coming in on a fly ball and made a running catch. He is accepting the plaudits of the left field crowd, many of whom never even saw him play. they're that young out there, but it really doesn't matter, because as part of these things that are drenched, as I said, with nostalgia, some of them get to be a little old, but it seems like in a park in Boston that it's a little bit different here. Louis Tiant is on the mound for the Red Sox team, and Tommy Holmes will be the leadoff hitter for the All-Stars. Holmes, the former, as Bill Crowley told you, great player with the Boston Braves. Louis Tiant is a pitcher. Roy Partee is the catcher. Bob Montgomery is playing first base, I'll tell you that. Bobby Dorr at second. Petrocelli at shortstop. Malzone at third. Williams in left. Carroll Hardy in center. And George Metkovich in right field. That's the defensive lineman for the Boston Red Sox team. Tommy Holmes, fine outfielder for the Boston Braves at .352 in 1945. Was on the '48 championship team that played the Cleveland Indians. One of the great hitters at the time. And Louis will show his motion again, and we are underway with the old-timers game. A foul ball off the bat of Tommy Holmes. And here's another guy that loves all this. Louis Tiant. You could not keep him away from these things. Wherever they ask him, he goes and loves it. Louis, a fellow that many of us feel should be back in the game somewhere, still getting paid, I suppose, as a scout for the New York Yankees, but a lot of people around Boston town would love to see him back here in some regard for the years that he gave the Red Sox and their fans. Boy, there's a good pitch right there. And a 1-2 count. And Holmes kicking with Jerry Neudecker. Look at that uniform. Now, that uniform used to be white, that Tommy Holmes has. It faded a little bit over the years, but it's original. And Louis, that's slapped toward third. Taken by Petrocelli, though, over to Montgomery perfectly, and there's one out. Two members of the '75 club involved in that team, that play, Petrocelli and Bob Montgomery. Rico, he could be anybody's shortstop when he was here. He took second place to nobody. Here is Eddie Yost, who for years played with distinction for an undistinguished team, the Washington Senators. I remember seeing him when I worked down there. Third baseman, call him the walking man. He led in walks for 6 or 7 years and has more home runs as a leadoff batter than anybody. He had good pull power, and he needed it in Griffith Stadium. Down there, the left field wall down the foul line was 407 feet from home plate. And to hit a ball out of there, you really had to pull one, and he hit the home runs in Griffith Stadium. He had good pull power, and Eddie was one of the best third base coaches that I ever saw with the Red Sox. It's one base hit left field. Eddie lives right out in Wellesley now. He's retired. He had a chance to be with the Seattle Mariners. Yost was offered a coaching job when the change came in Boston with the Seattle Mariners at the time. He said, I don't want to. I just want to stay here. I don't want to travel anymore. So he decided, okay, I'll stay right here. And we are the richer for that. Here is Al Bumbry, who is now a member of the Red Sox organization, but bedeviled Boston pitching for years as a member of the Baltimore Orioles. As somebody once remarked, anybody named Alonzo Bumblebee Bumbry can't be all bad. And he was the Rookie of the Year in 1973 when he came up with a guy named Rich Coggins, and both of them were road runners for the Orioles and were on base all the time. Al Bumbry now is a minor league instructor, and mostly for the base running people. They have a lot of, apparently, we got some road runners down there in the minor league system now for the Red Sox. Bumbry is a roving scout. He could bunt. He could fly. Oh, he took a big rip at Louis that time. Louis might knock him down after a pitch like that, after a swing like that. Bumbry, the batter, with Yost at first base. Tiant on the mound for the Red Sox. And a fly ball to straightaway center field. Carroll Hardy. And Carroll Hardy can make the catch. The depth perception is still there. Hardy plays with glasses now. He could fly. He could really run. Had a couple of years, and of course he did pinch hit or played left field when Ted Williams played his last game. He replaced him in left. Here is Art Howe, former Houston Astro, and he's not that old. And a strike. .260 in 10 major league seasons for Howe. Played on the Astro team that won the pennant in 1980 in the National League. There's one slowly hit up the middle. He found some open space, and Yost will hang at second. So Art Howe, no problem there. 2 on with Yost stopping at second base, Howe at first base, and Tiant in deep trouble. And Moose is up. Walt Dropo, former first baseman for the Red Sox, played with the Tigers, and while he played with the Tigers, a strike from Louis. That had a little mustard on it. Dropo, when I was living in Washington, I saw him tie the major league record for consecutive hits held by Mike Higgins, 12 hits in a row. I saw him foul out to break that string, and then I saw him get a hit the next time up. Slowly hit the third, and Malzone will make the play on Yost. Safe. Nope, they call him out. Malzone making a dive for the ball to Malzone. He was going to tag Yost. He's waiting for him. Then he went for the bag. He got him. Let's see if the ball. No, yeah, he kept the ball. So Malzy kept it, and 2 third basemen end up in the dirt. Rico Petrocelli leading off for the Red Sox against Warren Spahn. You need not worry anymore about identifying who Warren Spahn is. Winningest left-hander of all time, and here is one of the great Red Sox shortstops in my book, whoever played here, Rico Petrocelli. He had that great Fenway stroke, a compact swing, and in batting practice, he was aiming at the wall and came closer to hitting one over than anybody did. Rico was hired by the White Sox by Ken Harrelson to be a scout and an instructor during the spring. He's part-time there, I believe. There goes one deep left field, and there is a Rico Petrocelli shot into the screen. Petrocelli, home run. Boy, that takes you right back 10 years, 12 years. I told you, a compact stroke, all right. The sweet swinging Rico Petrocelli. Tell you, here it is. That bat doesn't move very far. It just has tremendous bat speed still, and he plunked it into the net. Bobby Doerr is the batter now, and he's way ahead of that Spahn changeup. There's a screwball that Spahny's been working on the last few years. Joe Ferguson of the Dodgers is Spahn's catcher for the All-Stars. And there's a ground ball shortstop way. Let's see if Foley can throw him out. Tim Foley throwing over to Dropo, and they've got the out on Bobby Doerr. Now Spahn will give way to another pitcher as Ted Williams comes to the plate. It is Ralph Branca of the Dodgers. Ralph Branca, who gave up the home run to Bobby Thompson in 1951. Still a fine pitcher he was at the time for the Brooklyn Dodgers. And he will test Williams. And we'll take some warm-ups. Ted Williams in the All-Star game in 1941 won the ball game with this clout in Detroit. A young, lean, splendid splinter, as they call him, won that ball game for the American League. He is still splendid. He is no longer a splinter. All right, it's Branca to Williams and a strike. Williams he was always an advocate and still is of patience in hitting. And he had an eye better than almost anybody in the game as to where a pitch was. So now he's behind on the count, 1-2. They're not going to call him out. You know that. I mean, they can throw strikes all day, and he'll take them when he doesn't want to be in that strike zone, and they won't call him out here. He pops it up shortstop way, and Howe is under it for the out. They had a Williams shift on him. They had the three infielders on the right side, and Williams pops up. So there's 2 outs now, and here's Frank Malzone, who had a good Fenway stroke also. You put it up around the letters to him, from the letters to the shoulders, and those eyes would light up, and he would keel haul it. Frank, one of the fine defensive third basemen in baseball, making that play there. He, of course, came up at the same time, a little bit before Brooks Robinson. And he slams one to Foley at shortstop. And Frank is out. But there was no better fielding third baseman around, along with Brooks Robinson, than Frank Malzone. So after 1 inning, the Red Sox lead 1-0. Catcher still Roy Partee, and Lonborg, now a distinguished dentist and the star of the 1967 Impossible Dreamers. His pop fly to Petroselli won the pennant, as it turned out, and pandemonium was on the field. As they carried Lonborg at this point, he carried that through. He ended up down in right field that day. He could not get to the clubhouse. They would not let him down. Bobby Thompson lifts one towards center field. Carroll Hardy making his second putout. We are in the top of the second inning with the Red Sox leading the All-Stars 1-0 on the home run by Petroselli. Now here is Rene Latchman, the current Red Sox third base coach. Started with the Kansas City Athletics. And I remember, I think it was his first game. The Red Sox were down there when he was first brought up. And the Red Sox were the first opponent for the Kansas City Ball Club. And he was the young catcher that was being tested at that time. Lonborg will probably knock somebody down before it's all over. He strikes Latchman out. And Latch will hear about that the rest of the season in the back of the bus from his current team, as Lonborg strikes him out for the second out of the inning. And Jim's having a good time out there. He's giving now over to another pitcher. Clem Drysward, who pitched on that briefly for that 1946 team, is relieving Lonborg now. Clem Drysward came and pitched in spots for the Red Sox in the mid-40s and on the 46 ball club. Mark Fidrych is the first base coach for the All-Stars, and Tommy Holmes, who started the game, is now coaching at third. But the Bird is over there at first base. And we're ready for activity here. There's a good, slow Eephus pitch. Tom Robson is a coach now with the Texas Rangers, is the batter, the member of the All-Stars. 2-ball, 1-strike count to Tom Robson. Drysdale getting the ball over, and Robson lashes it sharply into left field for a base hit. He's a little younger than some of the other ones. That was Ferguson, not Robson. And certainly Ferguson is too, and there's a fall in left field. That's the new left fielder, Leon Culberson, fell down after fielding that base hit. Tom Grieve, who is now the general manager, vice president and general manager of these Texas Rangers, a former player with Texas, and from Pittsfield, Massachusetts, a native. Tom Grieve just signed a long-term contract yesterday with the Rangers, along with Bobby Valentine, Mike Stone. Grieve hit a couple of home runs against the Red Sox down in Texas in Arlington Stadium when he played with the Texas Rangers. He was very tough on Red Sox pitching when he was playing with them a couple of years when he was there, when the Red Sox would visit Arlington. Had a pretty good pull power to left. Very articulate fellow. There's one. That's going to tie the ball game up, I believe. It does, right on top of the screen. Matter of fact, it sends the All-Stars ahead with a runner on. And Tom Grieve has a 2-run homer as his Texas Rangers welcomed the Red Sox home last night by beating them 4-1. So Grieve continues today to harass Boston with a 2-run homer into the top of the net. Ferguson scoring ahead of him. And Tim Foley standing in, pirate uniform. Those great pirate uniforms with the old-fashioned hat that they affected back when they were pennant winners in '79. And he hits one good to left center field. Let's see if Hardy can do anything about that. He tries. It's off the wall. Foley will canter into second base. So Foley wraps the double off Drysdale. Carroll Hardy used to play left field, some center, but mostly left, and made the leap. I don't think he gauged the wall quite right, although he could have had the catch on that. As I said before, he's one of the fastest runners, former great football player at the University of Colorado. He is now with the Denver Broncos in an administrative capacity. Eddie Yost for the second time. Pops it up near the mound. Who's going to get it? Nobody. Going to drop in there. Nobody covering first. And Yost is on again. So Eddie Yost having a good day at the plate. Yost will take it. He is 2 for 2. He and Montgomery. Sterling first baseman, Bob Montgomery. And Bumbry is up for the second time. Second inning of the All-Star and Red Sox old-timers game. The All-Stars have vaulted into the lead on a 2-run homer by Tom Grieve. 2-1 is the score. Drysdale is the pitcher. Bumbry will rack one, and Hardy's awfully busy. He will let it go, and it'll bounce in front of him as the bases now are occupied by runners at first and third. And Darrell Brandon will be coming on to pitch. Clem Drysdale, glad to get out of there with his life, gives over to Bucky Brandon, who pitched on the 1967-68 Red Sox teams. Brandon from Nacogdoches, Texas, will take over on the mound and will face Art Howe. Runners will be at first and third. The All-Stars, with 2 out in the second inning, are leading the Red Sox old-timers by a score of 2-1. Brandon has a little bit of something on the ball. He's, it hasn't been that long since he pitched, some 15, 16 years. Howe, though, may be ready for him. Tap past Brandon. That's going to be into center field for a hit, and Yost will score. It is 3-1. Bumbry will move easily into third base. Now he's coming back to second base as they're waving him back to second, saying it's unfair. He didn't touch the bag. Players noticeably playing at about half to three-quarters speed because they want to be able to get up for work tomorrow or to go home. Here is Tom Robson of the Rangers, the coach of the Rangers. 2 outs still, and a 3-1 lead for the All-Stars. Bumbry is at second base and Howe at first, and Brandon is right on that corner for strike one. This game is scheduled to go probably about 15 more minutes and end at 2:30. And on NESN, we will have our regular Red Sox Digest program with interviews that we were able to get with some of these old-timers, some members of the Red Sox. We've got, we already saw with Ted Williams, but Lee Stang will be on there. Bobby Doerr, Dom DiMaggio, Dick Raditz, and others. So we invite you to stay tuned for that. Count is 2 balls, 2 strikes to Robson. Brandon with a hard slider gets him. He greats. Vic Raschi, who pitched on that great team with Raschi, Reynolds, and Lopat in the early 50s when the Yankees were the scourge of the league and the scourge of baseball. Raschi could fire about as hard as anybody. His catcher will be Rene Latchman. Latch out there, and he better do something to redeem himself from striking out, or his teammates are going to have it all over him. Bob Montgomery will be the leadoff hitter. Montgomery, a couple of years ago, hit one into the net for a home run. An '84 All-Star game. And if he strikes out, he'll never hear the end of it either. Up here. But I have a feeling that he'd be able to get hold of one. As Raschi pitches, he pops it up third base way. And there is Howe at third, making the catch on the line. A fair ball catch in one pitch. Montgomery is gone. He wouldn't be smiling 6 or 7 years ago. Here's Monty throwing out a runner when he was catching in 1975 for the pennant winners. That's when they roar red caps. New pitcher, Mark Fidrych. The bird is going to do a little landscaping, and the crowd loves it. What a story he was for baseball when he broke in with the Detroit Tigers and won 19 games in his rookie year and led an ERA, talked to the baseball, congratulated his teammates, and just was such a refreshing sign for baseball. He had the shoulder problems, the elbow problems, had to leave and try to make a comeback with the Red Sox a couple of years ago in spring training. It just wasn't there anymore, and nobody was any sorrier than former Red Sox manager Ralph Howe. Here's the way he looked when he pitched for the Tigers. Carroll Hardy just flied out to Bumbry, but look at this. Here is Fidrych over there, shaking hands with his first baseman. Everybody, this is the way Oil Can Boyd does, and this is the way Oil Can Boyd should continue to do. They love Fidrych for it, so if Can do it, why not? If he can do it, why not have Oil Can Boyd do it, regardless of what the opponents say? It's good, if that's your personality. There's one out already. Fidrych working to George Metkovich. There's a well-stroked single, crisply hit into center field. That'll bring Williams up. Williams, the DH, now going to try his luck with Fidrych. Fidrych has gone off the field. He said, I don't want to pitch to number 9. They said, stay out there. So here's a confrontation of two people who are good for baseball. Let's see. Are they going to bring another pitcher in? Now Fidrych says, all right. Lee Stang is going to pitch to him. Stinger, of course, in a Twins uniform.
It doesn't seem that long ago, but 25 years ago, I was an original twin, or Twinkie, as we called him when I came to Boston. But yeah, I think they need a little youth on that team over there, so they switched me to the other side.
You starting today?
No, we're going to let that little left-hander start. I think the guy that won about 363 games. I told him he could start, but Mealy's my manager, who was my manager with the Twins, so he said he might sneak me in there for a hitter or two.
These things are kind of fun, aren't they?
Well, I think it's fun seeing, all the guys I played with, and it's a thrill for me to meet Joe DiMaggio and some of these guys who played before I did that I never got a chance to meet, Warren Spahn, and I think everybody has a good time, and it's just nice to get together.
Stinger was telling us that before the game, he said, Williams told me to put it right about belt high, but with a little bit on it so that I can get some of your fastball behind it along with my swing. Started with the Minnesota Twins, went to the Cleveland Indians, and in one of the good trades that the Red Sox made in 1966 and 7, he came over here and helped with the Impossible Dreamers. He had the best earned run average on that staff as a starting pitcher. He won 8 games that year. Working now to Ted Williams. There's a hot shot to first. And he will be put out, but that ball was hit. That was smoked. And that'll take care of the Red Sox 4-1. Joe Dobson is the new pitcher. Pitched on that 1946 team, and for years was head of the operations down at Chain Lakes Park in Winter Haven for the Red Sox. He retired a couple of years ago. Dobson pitching. His new catcher is Jerry Moses. They'll have Moses on between games and before the regular game. Jerry Moses, who along with Mike Andrews operates a very successful baseball camp around town during the summer. Ed McGaw is the new left fielder. Bobby Thompson will be the hitter. As the All-Stars in their final inning try to... Here is the Thompson home run. Let's get it. When Russ Hodges said, the Giants win the pennant, the Giants win the pennant. 2 on, 1 out. And here's Thompson already leaping around there. Everybody's gone crazy at the Polo Grounds in New York in October of 1951. Leo DeRocher, the third base coach, will tackle him right here as Thompson comes across home plate, makes sure he gets home plate and lands in a welter of humanity there. Leo DeRocher hardly let him get home. He's so ecstatic. And Polo Grounds went crazy that year on a traumatic comeback by the Giants, who were 13.5 games out in August. Came on to tie and force the playoff. Thompson lifts one into left field, and he's got a base hit. He finished his career as a member of the Red Sox. So Thompson has a single off Dobson, and we're going to have a new pitcher. That's enough for Dobson. Broadway Charlie Wagner, one of the smoothest dressers in Major League history. Still is when you see him around there in Chain Lakes Park around Winter Haven. He's a vision in pastels as a civilian. He goes with yellows and pinks and purples, and a tremendous sartorial splendor is Wagner's name, from Reading, Pennsylvania, and one of the really nice fellas in this organization. He's a scout. We'll scout down through the South and up in the East. Very busy in the springtime looking at young high school players. He's taking his warm-ups, and the first man to face him will be Rene Latchman, with a chance to redeem himself. (4-1), the All-Stars lead. Thompson is at first base, and jackknifing away from a blazing fastball is Rene Latchman. And Latch cracks one foul. 1 ball, 1 strike the count on the current third base coach for the Red Sox, wearing the uniform that he broke in with in the majors of the Kansas City Athletics. A tapper slowly hit to second base, maybe 2. That's a double play. So Latchman now has struck out and hit into a double play. And there are 2 outs for the All-Stars' third inning. Another pitcher for the Red Sox being wheeled out there, Boo Ferris, as Wagner throws to one batter and gets a double play ball. Boo Ferris, who led in the pitching as far as wins in that 46 season. He started out like he was at 8-0, as if he was never going to lose a game in 1946, and went on to become the winningest pitcher along with Tex Hughes. And those two, along with some other people that really pitched well, played well in that 1946 team. Ferguson hits one deep, and that's going to be a screen job. Joe Ferguson with a home run and making it 5-1 All-Stars. Ferguson of the Dodgers, now with the Texas Rangers here as a member of the All-Stars, may even be playing today, so that's kind of unfair. So Ferguson puts the All-Stars ahead 5-1 now, and here is the monster, Dick Raditz, who in 1962, 3 and 4, and part of 65 was absolutely the best relief pitcher in baseball, and I still say the best that I've ever seen for a period of time, year after year after year, in 62, 3 and 4 for Mike Higgins and then Johnny Pesky's Red Sox.
When I grew up outside of Detroit, my dad, we'd go down to Tiger Stadium for two things: either see Ted Williams play or Bob Feller pitch. And we went down to see Ted play. Of course, it was Tex Houston and Joe Dobson, and of course Johnny Pesky, who have become good friends since then, and of course number 9 himself. It's a thrill for me to be here with these guys. And you'll see another, well, Joe DiMaggio's here. Enough said, huh? Oh yeah, Joe D is Joe D. You know, to be, I told my gal this morning, I said, you know, to be in the same ball game with Joe DiMaggio and Ted Williams, how many guys get an opportunity to do something like that? What a thrill. You've had some fun, I imagine, and I bet. Well, it's a lot of fun. Louis Tion's here, and that's fun enough, I'll tell you. You know, and I'm probably one of the few guys that can understand him as I played with him for a couple of years. But he's Rodney Dangerfield, Richard Pryor, everybody wrapped into one. So it's fun just having him here. And one thing, Ellie, you mentioned Johnny Pesky. Actually, Johnny Pesky was a guy that changed your whole career around, wasn't he? It was, Ned. In 1961, he made me into a relief pitcher in Seattle. I thought it was a demotion. Because in those days, if you weren't good enough to start, you simply went to the bullpen. But as I learned shortly after, it wasn't. And it took me a while to learn I was an integral part of the ball club. Quite honestly, when I came to Boston in '62, I won the American League Relief Pitcher of the Year award, and I still didn't feel like I was an integral part of the ball club. I think in '63 is when it really kicked in, when I had the good year. Fly ball, right center field, and let's see. Metcavich lets it go by him, backed up by Hardy. That's the longest single you'll see today at Fenway Park. That's about a 380-foot single to right center. Now Bobby Valentine, who is the manager of the Texas Rangers, he's on the All-Star Club. Dick Raditz just threw the fastball. He had no other pitch. He struck out people like that. That was his trademark, coming off the mound, both hands in the air, the monster. It was a time slowly hit to Malzone at third sleep because they are trailing 5-1 in the final half inning. There is a new left fielder, Lee Stang, out there in left. Mark Fidrych is back on the mound, and Jerry Moses, the batter, fouling it off. The count on him is 1 ball, 1 strike. The All-Stars leading the Red Sox old-timers 5-1. Stang in left field, and Fidrych back on the mound again. Here's a high pop-up. Now, who's going to get this? Howe at third, and Ferguson, the catcher. And Latchman, rather. Latchman, the catcher, makes the catch. So there's 1 down. Nice play, Renee. Talking about Dick Raditz, he was in a time when the Red Sox teams were not very successful. People would come out hoping the starting pitcher would get knocked out so that they would have Raditz in a game situation, 1 or 2 runs either way. Usually he came in when it was tied or when they were ahead. And he was just awesome. Mickey Mantle, in 3 years, got 1 hit off Raditz. We have Steve Busby out there now, and there is a story in itself. An arm problem that cut short what could have been one of the most brilliant careers in the American League. A couple of times, won 20 games for the Kansas City Royals. He had the first rotator cuff problem, which cut short his career. Now a telecaster in the American League for the Texas Rangers. There's a solid base hit by Mike Andrews. Mike Andrews with a hard single, and Andrews, of course, one of the impossible dreamers with a fine season at second base for the 1967 Red Sox. Working with the Jimmy Fund now. Ted Williams up for the final time. He is cranking up now as Busby faces Williams with 1 on and 1 out in the third.
He's ahead of that one. Strike 2. He's moving up on the plate. Does not stand back. Another shot down the first base line, but this time it's foul, and whoever gets that ball will remember it. You better keep it, fella. Don't let anybody take it away. A ball that Ted Williams hit. I don't care what year. 0-2 the count to Ted. There goes a high fly ball to right field. And it is taken out there, but that's what the crowd wanted to see. Williams pull a ball to right. And they're booing the right fielder for making the catch. But they got what they wanted. Once more, a climax performance by number 9. Rico Petrocelli with a chance to keep the Red Sox in the game. They are trailing 5-1. They're down to their last out. Petrocelli accounted for the Red Sox run with a home run. Dick Rashani got that ball. And there's another base hit by Petrocelli, slapped into left field. Boy, that stroke is still there. Red Sox have 2 on, 2 out, and Malzone up. Malzone can bring the game to within 1 if he can hit one into the screen. Tom House will do the pitching for the All-Stars now. He's finished his career, latter part of his career with the Boston Red Sox as a reliever. And he was the guy that caught the 715th home run ball Hank Aaron hit in Atlanta. House was in the bullpen. He is now the pitching coach for the Texas Rangers. And he will work to Malzone with 2 on and 2 out in the final inning. Malzone goes the other way, and a base hit to right field. Andrews coming on. He will score. It's now 5-2. I think he'll score. Latchman is sitting on home plate, and Andrews will go back to third. Now, the throw goes there, and Andrews scores. Well, they almost had him at home. Latchman guarding the plate, and Andrews comes in and jams himself on home plate. It is now a 5-2 game, and that's probably the first time there is a play again. We have a deep replay of this one. Latchman can't make the tag here. Andrews says, I've got to go home plate. Well, I'll go back. So the throw went. There's another base hit, this time by Bob Montgomery going into left field while we're in the replay. Montgomery singles sharply to left, and that loads the bases. And that brings the tying run to the plate. Carroll Hardy will be up with the bases loaded as Montgomery has just singled. Malzone is at second. That's maybe the first time you'll ever see Malzone going to right field. There's Montgomery, who just singled to left. Petrocelli is at third, and Hardy at the plate. Hits a high drive to left field. It is going to be off the top of the wall. A couple of runs have scored. Montgomery stops at second, and now it's 5-4. Carroll Hardy almost won the ball game. 1 foot higher, and that would have won it for the Red Sox. As Malzone and Petrocelli score, and it's now 5-4. Great shot by Carroll Hardy. 1 more yard, and that game would have been over, and the Red Sox would have won it. So we've got Metkovich up, and it's a ball. 1 solid single somewhere in the outfield would tie this game up, I think. Montgomery's running, though. There's a ball to Howe, and this will end it. Final score, the All-Stars 5 and the Red Sox 4, and a lot of fun, a good show for all the guys who came in and played in this game and actually did not do a bad job. There were very few embarrassments in this one. And John Kiley with Auld Lang Syne at the organ as the All-Stars and the old-timers come out and get the cheers of this almost bang-out crowd this afternoon at Fenway Park. A marvelous moment to see everybody from Jerry Moses to Joe DiMaggio and Ted Williams come out and perform in this, the first equitable old-timers game. A lot of money being donated to the old-timers who did not get in on all the riches that the people are in now in this game of baseball. So that is all it. The final score, the All-Stars 5 runs, 11 hits, and no errors. Boston Red Sox old-timers 4 runs, 7 hits, and no errors. A very exciting third inning. Significantly, no errors in this ball game charged to anybody. And a lot of fun is had by everybody, most of all by those people in white and the other uniforms from the other side of the dugout that participated in this before all the people. It is good for some of these people to hear the cheers again. The cheers that they heard a long, long time ago from the crowds not only in Fenway Park, but in baseball stadiums all over the country. The cheers are back.